हम लोग के नेक्स्ट जो पोएम है वो है टिथोनस, जिसकी मैं आपको लाइन बाय लाइन एक्सप्लेनेशन बता देती हूँ. In the first stanza of the poem, the speaker Tithonus, who was a Trojan prince and the son of Laomedon, a king of Troy, expresses the sorrow and discontent that he is overcome by because of the gift of immortality that he possesses. A very aged Tithonus looks around the woods and says that the woods or the trees that form part of the woods age with time. They decay or decompose, their leaves fall, and the trees eventually die and fall to the ground. He mentions the fact that the woods decay twice to emphasize that it is the natural order of life, that everything that exists on this earth must cease to exist one day. Nothing and no one is meant to live forever. The dark clouds that are laden with moisture shed their load in the form of rain that pours down on the ground. The clouds then disappear. Man is born, he plows the field or the earth and then is eventually buried under the earth that he plowed and worked on during his life. In other words, human beings are born, they then lead their lives, fulfill all their responsibilities and work that they are meant to carry out during their time on this earth, and then grow old and die. The beautiful and graceful bird, the swan, lives for many years, each of which has its summer time and then it too dies. The point that Tithonus is trying to make is that all things eventually come to an end in the natural world and in the world of human beings. Everyone and everything is subject to the cycle of birth, life, and death. He, however, is consumed by pilots, harsh immortalities. What he means is that while everything and everyone around him eventually dies, the pitiless immortality or everlasting life that he has been gifted with continues to take its toll on him, increasingly causing him excessive pain and suffering. He wastes away slowly in the arms of his beloved Eos, the immortal goddess of the dawn. In the quiet eastern horizon, the point in the east, where the earth and the eastern sky seem to meet, the home of Eos or Aurora in Roman mythology, the goddess of the dawn. Since Tithonus has been given the boon or gift of immortality, but not the gift of perpetual youth, along with it, he will live forever but will also keep on aging. Due to this, he has been reduced to a mere white haired shadow of himself and of what he was in the past. He keeps wandering about like a dream, meaning like a man who is so old that he has a strange, shadowy, almost unreal existence. He roams about in this manner, in the forever silent places inhabited by Eos in the east. He is wandering somewhere inside the gleaming, bright halls or interior of Eos, palace situated in faraway regions in the eastern sky that are covered in mist. The gleaming halls of morn are symbolic of the bright glory of the dawn. The spaces and places inhabited and frequented by Eos are always silent because Eos keeps leaving Tithonus alone in search of other lovers. So he is left to himself, a lonely, perpetually aging man who will never die and who is isolated from everything and everyone he loves because of his immortality. नेक्स्ट हम लोगों का जो पैरा एंड होगा वो आएगा हमारा मीट फॉर ऑल. यहाँ से शुरू होके मीट फॉर ऑल पे हम लोग एंड करेंगे यहाँ तक. ओके. Tithonus utters an exclamation of sorrow as he wistfully recalls his youth. He says that although he is a weak, grey-haired old man right now, reduced to a shadow of his former self, who serves as a contrast to Eos' youthful beauty and charm, he was once a young man who was so splendidly handsome that he became the chosen one of Eos. When Eos, the immortal goddess and personification of the dawn, chose Tithonus, a mortal, as her lover, his heart swelled with pride and made him feel no less than a god himself. Tithonus then asked Eos to grant him the boon of immortality so that he could be with her forever. एक बात यहाँ बता देती हूँ. According to the actual mythological story of Eos and Tithonus, Eos had asked Zeus, the king of the gods, to grant Tithonus the boon of immortality so that she could be with him forever. In Tennyson's poem, it is Eos who grants Tithonus this boon when he asks her for it. Tennyson used poetic license or the freedom that writers and poets have to change facts and details for the sake of creative expression when he made this change to the story of Tithonus and Eos in his poem. So this thing should be noted down. Anyways, back to the poem. Last में यहाँ पर थी, Tithonus then asked Eos to grant him the boon of immortality so that he could be with her forever. When Tithonus had asked Eos for the boon of immortality, she had effortlessly granted him his wish with a smile, just like rich, wealthy men who have so much to give that they give charity without thinking. Time, however, got angered by this interference with the role it played in the natural cycle of birth, life, and death. Time was very angry because Tithonus tried to escape him. Tithonus then refers to the strong and powerful Ars. According to Greek mythology, the Ars are three sisters and the daughters of Zeus and Themis, the Greek goddess of divine law and justice. Thalo is the goddess or personification of spring and the protector of youth. Oxo is the goddess or personification of summer. She is the protector of vegetation and plants as well as vegetation and fertility. Carpo is the goddess or personification of autumn. Together they are also called the Hore. They are the goddesses of the seasons, of natural order, of the natural portions or segments of time, and the laws and orders of time. In the poem that we are studying, they collectively symbolize time, which controls when life must take birth, the duration for which it must continue on the earth, and when it must end. By seeking immortality, Tithonus interfered with the role that time plays in this whole cycle of birth, life, and death that all creation is subject to. That is why when Eos granted Tithonus the gift of immortality, time became very angry. The Ars or the goddesses who accompany Eos or Aurora and serve her were angry that Tithonus was able to resist death. So while they could not do anything about this, they did have their way with regard to subjecting Tithonus to the ravages of time. They beat him down, meaning they defeated or battered him by mercilessly inflicting old age on him. They married or disfigured him by making deep wrinkles form on his face and body. They ensured that old age wasted him, meaning it made him thin, weak, withered, and shriveled up. Although the time or the arts could not make Tithonus gradually move towards a final death, they did ensure that continuous aging maimed him or permanently damaged and disfigured his body. In his tortured state, he was forced to go on living in the presence of a beautiful goddess who would remain eternally young. Tennyson uses the technique of juxtaposition, wherein two contrasting concepts, objects, images, or ideas are placed side by side so that the differences between them can be emphasized. So he makes Tithonus sadly mention that immortal age or perpetual old age, represented by him, was forced to live alongside immortal youth or perpetual youth, symbolized by Eos, the goddess of the dawn. The two simply could not coexist or live together happily as lovers because one would never stop growing old while the other would never stop being young. All of Tithonus' former handsome appearance and glory was completely destroyed because of his continuous aging that was brought on because of his immortality. Tithonus then asked Eos if all her love for him and all her beauty can compensate for the suffering that he must endure because of the fact that he will never stop growing old. Tithonus asked Eos if she will put right or make up for the blunder that was made in granting Tithonus the boon of immortality, which has become a bane or a curse for him. He asks her if she can take back this boon even now, or while the reflection of Venus, the silver star, or the morning star shining in the sky near them can be seen in her tearful eyes that are tremulous or trembling with the emotions of sorrow and pity on hearing Tithonus speak of the suffering he has to endure because of his immortality and perpetual aging. The poet refers to the silver star or Venus as the guide of Eos because Venus acts as the herald or harbinger of the dawn. It rises in the sky because the dawn and therefore signals or indicates the arrival of Eos or the dawn. यहाँ पर Venus is referred to as a silver star because although it is a planet, it looks like a star and is brighter than all the stars that are visible in the sky before sunrise or the dawn. Anyways, Tithonus makes a desperate plea to be allowed to die. He urges Eos to take back the gift of immortality that she gave him. Tithonus realizes that there is no reason why a man should wish for a course of life that is different in any way from the rest of the human race when he is kindly or kindered to or like all other human beings. Tithonus realizes that there is no reason why a man should wish to pass or trespass beyond the goal of ordinance or the normal human lifespan and the reasonable limits of human life when, according to the laws of nature, everything in the world should eventually pause or come to a stop by dying. It is right and fitting for everything and everyone to eventually die because death is the necessary end of life. There is no justification for meddling with and going against the natural order of existence. Doing so only results in suffering. नेक्स्ट जो हमारी लाइन है वो आएगी हमारे यहाँ तक. Tithonus says that a gentle breeze blows and parts the clouds. When this happens, he is able to take a quick glance at that dark world, meaning the earth where he was born. The earth is referred to as being dark because Tithonus is at the eastern horizon. It is dawn there and it is therefore bright there, in comparison to the earth where it is still dark because the sun has not yet risen. The earth looks dark in comparison to the eastern horizon, from where Tithonus gets a fleeting view of the earth. Once again, the familiar brightness of Io slowly radiates from her pure brows or unblemished forehead and from her pure or lovely shoulders with their unblemished, flawless, perfect beauty. This is simply a poetic way of saying that the dawn gradually spreads her brightness and brilliance across the sky. Tithonus refers to her brightness as mysterious because he has never been able to understand the secret of Eos, brightness and brilliance. He is unable to fathom how she can be so bright and radiant. As Eos, the goddess of the dawn, spreads her brightness across the sky, her heart beats strongly with renewed strength because she renews herself each morning and is therefore forever young. Her cheek begins to redden or blush, and as that happens, the darkness of the night is gradually dispelled. Her beautiful eyes light up gradually as she stands close to Tithonus and gazes into his eyes before her eyes become so bright that they put out the light of the stars and overpower their light. This is a poetic way of saying that as the dawn spreads across the sky and is soon followed by the rise of the sun, the sky becomes so bright that the light of the stars can no longer be seen. It is implied that when this happens, Eo's eyes become so bright that the tired, dim eyes of Tithonus cannot look into her brilliant eyes. He probably had to shield his old eyes from the brightness of Eo's young eyes. Tithonus goes on to say that as dawn's cheek begins to blush, the team of wild horses that love her and pull her chariot Eos or Aurora is often depicted as riding a chariot pulled by wild horses. Arise or wake up and shake off the darkness of the night from their manes. They love Eos so much that they are eager to be hitched to her chariot. They long for and look forward to bearing the yoke or the burden of having to pull Eos' chariot across the sky. As the heroes of Eos pull her across the sky in her chariot, they charge through the twilight, the light from the sky between full night and sunrise. And as they do so, Eos spreads her brightness and brilliance across the sky, making it appear as if it has burst into flames of fire. It is as if the draft or movement of the air caused by the swift motion of the horses pulling the chariot fans the faded coals of the twilight, causing them to burst into fresh flames of sunrise. नेक्स्ट जो हम लोगों की लाइन होगी वो यहाँ तक. Tithonus uses an exclamation to express wonder at the fact that whenever Tithonus asks Eos if she will take his immortality back, she keeps quiet while becoming increasingly beautiful. Then, before replying to Tithonus' question, Eos goes away, leaving behind the tears she shed for his pitiable condition on Tithonus' cheek, which probably get there when she embraces him to say goodbye and her moist cheek brushes against his cheek. नेक्स्ट हमारी जो लाइन है वो है Tithonus asks Eos why she always scares him with her tears of silent regret when he asks her to take back his immortality. Her tears of silent regret make him tremble with fear in case an old saying that he heard on earth a long time ago turns out to be true. That saying is that the gods themselves cannot recall, revoke or take back their gifts. If this is indeed true, Eos will not be able to take back the gift of immortality that she gave Tithonus, and in that case Tithonus is doomed to keep on growing old but to never die. He will continue to suffer from the ailments associated with old age but will never be rid of them because he will never die. नेक्स्ट हमारी जो लाइन आएगी वो यहाँ से यहाँ तक. Tithonus now utters exclamations of sorrow and self-pity as he remembers how differently he felt about Eos long ago, and how differently he would watch her as a young man as she appeared in the eastern sky. Tithonus wishes he were that long lost self again. It has been so long since he was that young man that he wonders if he is even the same person as that young man he wistfully remembers. He remembers how as a young man he would gaze at Eos as a clear outline formed in the east around her, as the shimmering light of this goddess of the dawn would start to gather round her. Tithonus remembers how he would gaze at the dark curls of Eos' hair kindle or light up and glow in the sunlight. This would be because when she would initially appear in the eastern sky, it would still be dark. So her curls of hair would appear to be dark. Then, as she would gradually spread her light across the sky, her hair would be more clearly visible and would then become bright in the rays of the sun that would rise very soon after the goddess of the dawn would spread her light across the sky. The young Tithonus would be so affected by this sight that he himself would feel as if he was changing along the magical transformation that would come about in Eos' curls of hair. Tithonus would feel a sense of warmth in his blood similar to the warmth of the light of the dawn. The warmth of the light of the dawn slowly made her presence felt by filling the eastern sky and the gates of the palace of Eos in the eastern sky with shades and hues of red and purple. As the young Tithonus lay down beside Eos, she would kiss his mouth, forehead, and eyelids. The cold body of Tithonus would become increasingly warm and moist with the loving kisses of Eos that were gentler and softer than half-opened spring flowers that start to blossom in April. As Tithonus would hear the sound of Eos' lips kissing him, he would also hear her whispering mysterious, wild, sweet words that meant nothing but which expressed tender love. Those wild, sweet words of Eos whispered into the ear of Tithonus were as sweet as the song he had once heard Apollo singing above Troy as its towers rose from the ground like the mist. Eos' sweet whispering had the same magical transformative impact on the young Tithonus as did the beautiful music played by Apollo, the god of the sun and musician. According to classical mythology, as Apollo played on his magical lyre, rocks and boulders placed themselves on top of each other to build walls of the city of Ilium, which is an ancient Greek name for the city of Troy. As Apollo continued to play beautiful music on his magical harp or lyre, the city of Troy rose from the ground just as the mist rises from the ground. Due to Apollo's music, not just the walls of Troy but also its tall towers rose from the ground, looking as ethereal and heavenly as the mist. The effect of Eos, while sweet words whispered gently into the young Tithonus' ears, would be as magically transformative as was the beautiful music played by Apollo that led to the city of Ilium of Troy being built with its towers magically rising from the ground. लास्ट हम लोगों का जो है Regardless of how Eos and her presence may have affected Tithonus as a young man, now as a feeble withered old man, he does not wish to stay with her any longer. He urges her not to keep him trapped and imprisoned in her eastern domain, where she rises anew each morning. He emphatically points out that his nature or qualities are those of a man tormented by deathless old age. Hence, his qualities cannot possibly exist in harmony with those of immortal youth. Tithonus' deathless old age contrasts far too painfully with Eos' eternal youth and renewal. Tithonus sees no point in their continuing to be together. There is no longer any future in their relationship. The beautiful, warm, glowing shadows of Eos do not stir any feelings in Tithonus anymore. When they cover or envelop him, neither his body nor his mind or heart react to the beauty and warm touch of Eos any more because the passion of his youth is gone. Hence the rosy or beautiful pink, purple and red rays of the light that radiates from Eos seem dull and lacking in warmth to Tithonus now. His withered, aged feet feel cold when they pass through the shimmering doorways of Eos' palace because he is no longer aroused by the passion and excitement with which he would enter her palace as a young man. He is now too old, feeble, weak and tired to feel anything, while Tithonus' withered aged feet feel cold when they pass through the doorways of Eos' palace in the eastern realm. Far below on the earth, the morning mist rise from the dark fields near the homes of fortunate men who are able to die. Tithonus feels envious of them. It is ironic that he feels so because death is usually feared by human beings and is not viewed as something that is sought after or is desirable. Tithonus feels that even happier and more fortunate than the men who have the ability to die are those men who are already dead and lie buried under the ground in grass-covered burial mounds, tombs or graves. Tithonus urges Eos to take back the gift of immortality that she gave him and to let him go. He asks her to return him or give him back to the earth from where she had brought him to live with her in her eastern domain as her lover. He wants her to return him to the earth from where he came and of which he is made. There is a possible biblical illusion or indirect reference here. We are made from earth and we return to earth. If Eos releases Tithonus from his immortality and restores him to the earth, he will die, as he would have a long time ago. Had he remained mortal, Tithonus tells Eos that since she is a goddess, she has the ability to see everything that happens on the earth from her home in the eastern sky. When she rises each morning, she will see the grave of Tithonus while he lies in his grave. The immortal goddess of the dawn, Eos will keep renewing her beauty and her youth over and over when she rises afresh each morning. Tithonus, on the other hand, who was made of earth, will become one with the earth and will rest peacefully in his grave. Having been set free from the tortured existence of eternal old age, he will be able to forget the loneliness of his present state in the empty, hollow palace courts of Eos. He will also be able to forget the stinging emotional pain and anguish he feels each morning when he sees the beautiful, eternally young Eos returning to him in her silver wheeled chariot after having been in the company of many other lovers.